All right, welcome back with a quick little news of the day video here for you guys. Apologies, some of the stuff I'm talking about in this video is a little bit late on my part. Some of this stuff was coming out a few days ago, but I wasn't able to record this when I wanted to, so apologies for that. However, I do still think this is going to be a worthwhile video because some of the stuff that has happened throughout the past couple days kind of ties into the recent drama around the pro scene as of late, and I would love to hear you guys' opinions on it, on what exactly you think about it, what needs to change, etc., etc. First little bit of news. TSM, huge esports organization from numerous different esports. They have teams from League of Legends all the way to Fortnite, are joining the Dota 2 pro scene by signing the Undying roster. Undying obviously finishing second place in North America in this tour, look very, very good. They beat Evil Geniuses in their tiebreakers to secure that second spot. They look fantastic. And now they've got a big, huge organization that's going to be backing them up, which I think is, again, amazing for them. Before this point, these guys were a completely self-owned team, no sponsors from what I could tell. They're having to pay all their own expenses and all that sort of stuff on their own. And by the way, that their announcement video about this from TSM, which by the way is linked down below, as well as anything else I talk about in this video, at the end of it, we had Moon Meander kind of talking as if it looked like he was in one of their studios or something. And he had mentioned the fact that they had access to, a nutritionist, a team psychologist, which is fantastic, all the more to enable the team to play the best Dota they can. I'm really glad that these guys have what seems to be a very cushy contract for themselves. For a team that has done nothing but improve throughout the past year and has been a fantastic team to watch, I'm really excited for them. However, with this great news, I also couldn't help but feel a little bad for Quincy Crew, because it was only a few weeks ago when Quincy Crew had actually beaten Undying in their head-to-head matchup in the DPC, and they won, and then they were undefeated. They became the first place team in North America, and they had tweeted that they hadn't received any sponsors, any sort of credible offers from any sort of big organization that wanted to take them in, because they as well were a completely self-owned team, having to pay their own pay all of their own expenses, including flying Ponlo out to North America, in which he has stayed throughout the entire holiday break apart from his family, and they don't have enough money from the DPC circuit to really pay for all that. And with no sponsors or anything, there really wasn't a whole lot of money for them, despite the fact that they were the best team in North America in this tour. And so, yeah, I feel a little bit bad for them. I wonder if maybe TSM was considering picking up Quincy Crew, but maybe they felt a little bit more comfortable with Undying just because the roster has been together a lot longer and they're maybe more sustainable. Whereas Quincy Crew, they had a big roster shuffle in the offseason after TI10, losing 3 of their 5 players. I personally think the team looks a lot better now than they did, especially with their shot caller, Kezu, very noticeably making a lot of huge calls for the team. But we don't really know anything so far. So yeah, big news for Undying. A little unfortunate for Quincy Crew. We'll see if this changes anything, and I'll tie into this story as we get further into the video of how these next 3 kind of all tie into one another. Next little bit of news, not really Dota related, this more being esports related, and that is that ESL and FACEIT, which is a small tournament organizer mainly for CSGO tournaments, if I read that correctly, have been sold to the Savvy Gaming Group, who is partially owned by a VP over at Activision, which I mentioned because if you guys don't know Activision, they're obviously a huge game developer responsible for big titles like Call of Duty to Destiny. They even have some affiliation with Blizzard, who also makes a ton of games. And the reason I mention this is because throughout the past couple years, there has been a lot of controversy coming out about Activision regarding their unsafe and unhealthy working environment when it comes to just sexual abuse in the workplace and just straight out, misogyny and all that kind of stuff, which was really terrible to see. And so I don't really know how to feel about this signing. Of course, this is just one member from Activision. However, it is someone that is higher up, so they had to have known what was going on. And by the way things have really gone with Activision since all that controversy, it really hasn't felt like anything has happened, and it's really shitty to see because, this is just a huge company that is obviously taking advantage of the fact that they're kind of untouchable right now. So that's just my personal opinion. If you don't agree with me, let me know. But yeah, I personally don't really like to see anything like this, Activision trying to get into it. But it does affect ESL, which we'll see if it does end up changing anything. ESL obviously hosts a lot of Dota 2 tournaments, majors, all that kind of stuff. We'll see if that ends up changing anything in the future, and if Activision will maybe try to get more of a hand into that. We'll see. And the last little bit of news that isn't really news, but I thought I would throw this in here because it kind of ties everything together. And that is that Kyle had a interview slash podcast with Richard Lewis, who both of them have been around the pro scenes of numerous esports for a very long time at this point. So it was a fantastic discussion in which they talked about just the problems revolving around specifically the Dota 2 pro scene and how things could possibly change, what needs to change, and just the general attitude that Valve has towards the game and what needs to change again. Specifically, if you just want to hear Kyle talking about what he thinks could be different, I think around the hour 43 mark or the hour and 44 minute mark, he starts talking about that. It's about a 2 hour long podcast, and if you guys have the time, I'd really recommend you guys listen to it. I thought it was a great listen because, again, these are two people that have been around the scene for a very, very long time, who would had some very, very valuable insight about, well, just Valve and the way that everything functions. Kyle specifically being an ex-pro player in numerous different esports, including Dota as well. So yeah, and we'll see how things change from there. And this kind of ties everything in together because we don't really know what the Dota 2 pro scene is going to look like in a couple years. You know, Kyle and Richard had a lot of different, suggestions as to what can change with big name organizations like TSM. We've also had Talon joining the Dota 2 pro circuit as of late. With big name organizations like this joining, will Valve have more incentive to actually make positive changes that are going to make it more likely that other big name teams are going to be joining the Dota 2 pro scene again? We don't know. Same thing for ESL. Will that have an impact on the way that Valve runs things? Will ESL have an easier time? Because it's no secret that Dota 2 tournaments don't typically make a whole lot of money. Valve just kind of puts in half of the prize pool and that's it. It's pretty hands-off. But from there, tournament organizers really fail to draw in too much of a crowd, especially with the fact that people are able to watch the games from other streamers that are streaming the pro games or from just the actual game client itself. And that's another thing that they talked about in their podcast, so I won't talk too much about it. Again, highly recommend checking that out. But will we see changes? And what will change? Will we see more big name teams joining the pro circuit? We'll see. But yeah, a little bit of news before I end things off is that LebronDota, previously on Into the Breach, has parted ways with Into the Breach. They previously, I believe they just won their tiebreakers against Ghost Frogs in the lower division to avoid relegation. So they do manage to stay in the lower division of the DPC circuit in Western Europe. I don't think they did maybe as well as they were hoping to, and so some changes are going to be made. And as of right now, we don't know where LeBron is going to be going. We don't know who Into the Breach are going to be getting to replace him. We don't really know anything at all, but there are going to be some changes, and we'll see where they go from here. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And again, sorry that this is coming up a little bit late. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow with another video.